If you are a student who wants to explore really exciting research and to be surrounded by extremely bright, supportive, engaging faculty in the greatest city, probably in my opinion, in the world, there's really no other place that you can go.
I was basically looking for a program that would give me a world-class medical education and a diverse population of people in a city that is amazing.
The benefits of going to school in the middle of New York City is you are surrounded by energy. Look around you. You are steps from Central Park. You are moments from some of the most enriched and historic neighborhoods.
Mount Sinai is physically located at the intersection between the Upper East Side and the southern edge of Harlem.
We're drawing from one of the largest populations in the country or in the world, which means that we get a very rich, interesting, scientifically set of patients to study.
That's very attractive from the perspective of clinical training and also from the perspective of the range of research questions that a student could potentially address during the PhD.
So although New York City is massive, it's huge, our community is small and you belong as part of that community.
What attracts a student to come to the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai? There are so many things. I think that foremost, it is our deep, deep commitment to social justice, our exceptional research enterprise, and our clinical footprint. We have the biggest healthcare system in New York City and New York State.
The fact that we have this rich body of patients to work with and to serve and to study from means that we almost always have a very meaningful clinical angle to all of the problems that we focus on in the lab.
As an MD PhD student, if you join us at Mount Sinai, you will learn basic science from world experts, but within the context always of clinical medicine, always within the context of how you can translate your knowledge of basic science to human disease.
The graduate school, all of the research is essentially embedded in a hospital environment. There isn't a separate hospital and then separate research buildings. There are patients in all of the buildings. And so it's a uniquely translational environment.
We straddle two different worlds. Medicine is very distinct from basic science, and I think the institution is always striving to bridge those connections.
What I tell the students is that you can be the bridge between the hospital and the laboratory. Go and fight for that discovery that you want to make and transform the way we teach you.
The questions that we ask in the laboratory are always centered on how this is impacting patients.
If we can predict the cognitive decline before Alzheimer's, before the pathology, if we can look for biomarkers early on to make predictions, maybe then we can prevent that kind of decline later on.
My lab has been working on opioid drugs for over 20 years to design a painkiller that would have less side effects.
In terms of SARS coronavirus 2, my laboratory was the first lab in the US that had an antibody test for determining if somebody had made antibodies against the virus. We were basically really on the forefront of characterizing the antibody response.
It's going to be a physician scientist who finds the clinical problem that's right at the cusp of being pushed a little bit farther by the science, and the scientific problem that's just necessary in order to push the clinical problem a little bit further.
The institution is deeply committed to diversity and inclusion and serving the underserved. And the hospital was built out of this idea of serving patients who were unable to get service elsewhere.
Within the medical school, it's something that we talk about every day in terms of trying to make it so that when two different people who look two different ways and are coming from two different places come to the hospital, they each have the same shot at receiving the same world-class care.
It really matters that equity is part of the core of where someone trains. We shine an equity lens on everything that we do.
medicine through a social justice lens is really the huge amount of community service that we do at this school. We are a school in East Harlem. Our students are deeply committed to our East Harlem community. From the programs like Icahn, the Human Rights Program, the Visiting Docs Program, students are able to work in all these different clinical arenas and all these different communities.
We're committed to developing and creating and sustaining a holistic, equitable, thriving culture at Mount Sinai, where every student deserves to thrive, regardless of their circumstances, regardless of their journey to medical school.
We are looking for students across the full spectrum of life experience. Students who've always known they want to be doctors, students who've never dreamed they could be doctors, students who are coming to us from profoundly disadvantaged family and social backgrounds.
What attracted me most to the MSTP at Mount Sinai was the culture and community that this MSTP is grounded in.
I think community is like the biggest thing that I'm most thankful for, and very much so was aware of when I was applying, but didn't realize how integral it really shapes your experience.
I was impressed by the research, I was impressed by the training, but really the students are what kind of tipped the balance for me at Mount Sinai.
I think that one of the biggest things that people are looking for whenever they're courting schools is which school could they feel like they would be the most happy at pursuing this very challenging degree and program, but doing so in a way with a community that they can find support in, that they feel that they can turn to if they ever needed, that they also can rejoice with whenever they make big discoveries or have little things that they want to celebrate.
There is a collaboration and a lifting of the voice of the medical students so that they are a member of the team making a difference.
Our mantra is very different. It's look to your left, look to your right. Before this is over, one of those people is going to be relying on you, or you will be relying on them for help to get through this process. That's the kind of community web of people that we are trying to create here. This supporting, embracing environment, not one that's competitive and cutthroat at all.
In my cohort, we have a dancer, we have artists, photographers, people in the humanities, there's a playwright. We just have some amazing, incredible students in this program. Everyone has such an amazing and different background. As students, we really benefit from it because we get to experience the richness of our classmates.
The common theme among them is that they are students who want to change the face of medicine for the better.